When we are overwhelmed by difficulties daily, we can get distracted from the joy or even the meaning of life. Wars, pandemics, economic crises, loss of our loved ones, or any hopeless situation we are stuck in. How can we overcome these sufferings? In this guide, we offer 4 Stoic strategies to answer these questions. Stay with us until the end so you don't miss any important information that can help you overcome or even thrive in the difficulties life throws at you. The Stoics, like everyone who has walked this earth, were not unfamiliar with suffering. It was a fact of life in Rome, just as it is today. Marcus Aurelius's reign, though beloved by the people, faced wars, political rebellions, economic collapse, and pandemics. Epictetus, for his first 3 decades, endured harsh, unrelenting slavery, bearing its scars forever. Even more contemporary Stoics, such as Viktor Frankl and James Stockdale, had to embody Stoicism during unexpected turns in their lives. They suffered just as we suffer. They struggled just as we struggle now. Because life isn't fair, because it's hard, because bad things happen. But what was special about the Stoics is that in precisely these difficult times, they managed to shine. It was from this adversity that they derived great meaning. James Stockdale would say that in those 7 years in a horrible prisoner of war camp, I never doubted not only that I would get out, but also that I would prevail in the end and turn the experience into the defining event of my life, which, in retrospect, I would not trade. So, how do we do that? How do we bear the weight of suffering and use it to find meaning in our lives? With those questions in mind, here are 4 Stoic strategies for finding meaning in times of suffering. Epictetus once said, "If wisdom were given me under the express condition that it must be kept hidden and not uttered, I should refuse it. No good thing is pleasant to possess without friends to share it." It's essential to understand that the Stoics were not just great teachers, but lived according to what they taught others. They lived their philosophy. Epictetus, who emphasized the importance of distinguishing between what we can and cannot control, had to accept the uncontrollable from birth. Born into slavery, his very name, Epictetus, means acquired in Greek. He endured a slave's life for many years before being freed by his master, a secretary to Emperor Nero. Despite these harsh conditions, Epictetus studied philosophy and became a master of Stoic thought, spreading his ideas far and wide. He transformed his trials into triumphs, helping others by turning adversity into opportunity. This principle is foundational to Stoic thought and inspires works like The Obstacle is the Way. In times of crisis, we tend to focus on ourselves, how we are affected, and what we need to do to survive. However, it's crucial to remember that everyone is experiencing similar challenges. In Book 6 of Meditations, Marcus Aurelius advises us to meditate often on the interconnectedness and mutual interdependence of all things in the universe. This reflects the Stoic concept of Sympatheia, which suggests that all things are mutually woven together and therefore have an affinity for each other. Years ago, during crises like the COVID-19 pandemic, we should embrace this interconnectedness and support one another. When everything seemed to be falling apart, Sympatheia provided us with meaning. For many, pandemics feel hopeless. Yet, when we feel anxious about the rising cases or long to see our loved ones, we must refocus our energy on helping others. No matter how dire the situation, we must remember our interconnectedness and the duty we owe to others. By prioritizing how we treat those experiencing the same struggles, we find the meaning necessary to keep moving forward. Viktor Frankl once said, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." It's tragic that many of us fail to recognize the value of something until it's gone. We often take for granted what we have and constantly desire what we don't. Even Viktor Frankl admitted he took the little things for granted. In tough times, it's these small moments that give us the meaning to keep going. In Man's Search for Meaning, there's a poignant scene where Frankl, engaged in hard labor by a railroad, endures thick snow while being underclothed, malnourished, and utterly exhausted. Despite the brutal conditions and beatings by an officer, Frankl finds solace by daydreaming about his wife. It wasn't major moments he recalled, but the little things, her smile, the way her hair fell, her laugh. These memories, appreciated in the past, provided Frankl with the will to live despite his suffering. In In times of suffering, we often focus on what we lack rather than what we have. We complain instead of feeling gratitude for the things we haven't lost. Marcus Aurelius knew the danger of complaining, writing, "How does it help to make troubles heavier by bemoaning them?" This tendency to take things for granted doesn't make us bad people, but it certainly doesn't serve us well, especially during a global pandemic. Like Frankl found meaning in the memory of his wife, we must find meaning in every moment. Each day when we wake up in difficult conditions, let's be grateful for our health and the opportunity to spend time with family. See each day as a gift, and meaning will follow. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "We should remember that even nature's inadvertence has its own charm, its own attractiveness. The way loaves of bread split open on top in the oven. The ridges are just byproducts of the baking, and yet pleasing somehow. They rouse our appetite without our knowing why, or how ripe figs begin to burst, and olives on the point of falling. The shadow of decay gives them a peculiar beauty." One of the greatest examples of finding beauty despite circumstances comes from legendary American businessman and inventor Thomas Edison. At 67, Edison was about to eat dinner when he was informed of a large fire burning at his factory. He arrived at the scene with his son and watched as his life's work burned to ashes. Most people would break from such an incident, but not Edison. He turned to his son and said, "Go and get your mother and all of her friends. They'll never see a fire like this again." Edison's calm reaction wasn't due to delusion or shock, but his well-trained perception to see opportunity through the flames. Marcus Aurelius also found beauty in dark places. On the war front in Germania, Marcus saw beauty in the flecks of foam on a boar's mouth, the brow of a lion, and the way a ripe olive falls to the ground. Through hours of reflection in his journal, now known as Meditations, Marcus developed the ability to find peace amidst chaos. We all hold this same power. We can find beauty and meaning in life at any moment. A Greek proverb said, "A society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never sit in." Think about the life our parents have lived, the trials and tribulations they've overcome, and the suffering they've endured. Now think about our grandparents. Go as far back in our family tree as memory or research allows. Suffering does not skip a generation like a genetic disease. It is ever present for all who have lived and are living currently. We should remember philosopher George Santayana's wise words, "Those who fail to study history are doomed to repeat it." This quote, often used to discuss history in general, is just as applicable to the modern Stoic. If we fail to learn from our ancestors and those who came before us, like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, and the rest, we're doing them a disservice. We're not honoring them in the same way their discoveries honor us today. Our goal during the pandemic, and for the rest of our lives, should be to plant trees for those who will come after us and make the world a little better than the way we found it. The next time we feel discouraged by suffering, we should put our energy towards helping others, be grateful for what we have, and see the beauty in everything. Most of all, we should strive to make our ancestors proud. They overcame great obstacles and found meaning in suffering, and now so can we. If you want to know how can you embrace kindness without hurting yourselves and what are the 8 ways kindness can ruin your life, listen to our previous video. The link is on the screen. Thank you for joining us on this Stoic journey. Until next time, may these practices transform your mornings, your days, and ultimately, your life.